Alright battlers, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're taking a look at Togekiss in the Fusion Cup. Togekiss is a fairy and flying type Pokemon with a lot of really unique strengths, and I think it has a lot of play this month in the Fusion Cup. Here we go, facing off against Claydol. That Confusion is actually doing a lot of damage to Togekiss, so I am going to shield up this attack, expecting Psychic, but it was just the Earth Power. In comes a Lowland Ninetales, and this is one of the reasons I really enjoy Togekiss. That Ancient Power gives it so much coverage against a lot of things that can hurt it. So I do swap into Bronzong here, and Bronzong, even though it's a Psychic type and that Charm is not going to treat it very well, it is part Steel, and it's just really tanking those attacks, and our Confusions are actually going to wear down that Ninetales, and we have a boatload of energy ready for whatever comes in next. My opponent actually decides to bring in Claydol, and I'm going to shield bait with the Psyshock, but he is not going to take the bait. He does allow that attack through. I go with another Psyshock here on the Pokemon he just switched in, which is Altaria. So a Psyshock is definitely the right move against Altaria. That ground type Bulldoze is not going to do much damage at all. We're able to switch in Togekiss there and do a great amount of damage to Altaria. Altaria being a dragon type is not going to do very well against that Charm, so definitely a great option to switch in there in clutch moments like that, because now Altaria is so weak, we're actually able to bring it down with the Psyshock. In comes Claydol, and trainers, this match has a very crazy ending. We are just playing around and practicing here. I'm trying to KO this Claydol with Mud Shots. He's actually going to land the Earth Power here, and 1-2 more Confusions, and we double KO. A lot of fun. I could have gone for the Dynamic Punch, but I wanted to try with the Mud Shot KO. So here we go with Togekiss versus Heracross. Heracross is a bug and fighting type, and as you can tell, he bailed out immediately. In comes Bibarel, and Bibarel is a tough Pokemon to deal with. It's a great water gunner. I know we're all very familiar with it from Ferocious Cup, but in this cup, when you're facing off against things like Bronzong or Alola Marowak or Charizard, I think the search for the best water gunner is still ongoing. He does allow me to take down the Bibarel with the Mud Bomb there, and in comes Heracross. I could have probably built up to the Blizzard there, but I'm still trying to gauge how much damage these attacks do, and as you can tell, Counter actually does a fair amount of damage. I'm going to shield here with my Togekiss. It was the close combat. In comes Bronzong. I'm going to throw the Ancient Power here, fishing for the boost, and my opponent didn't need to shield that, but they do. I come in here with the Lowland Sandslash, and as you can tell, I'm running Powder Snow with Ice Punch and Gyro Ball, so I'm in big trouble here. That is super effective. My only chance is to build up to the Bulldoze and then bait with the Ice Punch here, and we do get the shield bait, which is excellent, and then I go for the Gyro Ball. Gyro Ball hits slightly harder. I think if I had more time, I would go for the double Ice Punch, but just one more Confusion brings us down. Togekiss is going to absorb this Psyshock here and fall. Togekiss fell a little bit short there, but I definitely wanted to show you how good it is against the fighters. Here we go with Togekiss against the other top Charmer in the cup, a Lowland Ninetales. A lot of trainers, again, are very familiar with the Lowland Ninetales from the Ferocious Cup, and as you can tell here, you want to play this match the exact same way as you would play it back in Ferocious. If you go for the charge move, you miss out on that fast attack, and you can actually fast attack down, but you have to sacrifice that shield. In comes Kingdra. We know Kingdra from the Timeless Cup. Octazooka Kingdra is so overpowered. It's a great Pokemon. I think you're going to see a lot of it in the Fusion Cup. Here comes the Octazooka. Alolan Sandslash is going to get debuffed, but I'm telling you, trainers, Alolan Sandslash is another awesome Pokemon to look at. For the Battles actually did a breakdown on it, and I plan to do a feature video as well. It is so spammy and has so much coverage. Even though we are debuffed, we force that Altaria to double shield the Ice Punch. It would have been super devastating if it would have landed. I'm not sure exactly how much damage it would have done, but it would have been significant. Here comes Togekiss with the Ancient Power trainers, just like we mentioned before. Ancient Power is a great move. I'm going to bring in my Shiftry here. I think I can Snarl down. As long as I block the Sky Attack, I'll have a ton of energy for this Kingdra in the back. And the Kingdra is going to come out, and we have the Leaf Blade ready. So Shiftry is going to tie this match up with a bow. Very, very nice. Going into the next game, I will lead Togekiss into Whiscash. Obviously, that red alarm goes off in your head. You do not want to get hit by Blizzard. He does switch out, though, in favor of Golbat, and Golbat is so quick to charge. Here comes the Poison Fang, which is super effective against Fairy-type Togekiss. I bring in my Alolan Sandslash here, and honestly, trainers, my plan is just to farm down. This Powder Snow doesn't do much damage, but when it's up against a flying type like Golbat, it is going to chunk down quickly. I definitely think if you're Golbat in the situation, you need to go for those Shadow Balls. They do the most damage, although he is going to bring my Sandslash pretty low with these Poison Fangs. I think double Shadow Ball might have been better. In comes Toxicroak, and I go for the blind Gyro Ball. We're actually going to draw the shield, and I kind of overtap there, not knowing that I also had the Ice Punch, and the counter brings us down. In comes Togekiss, and Toxicroak is a very interesting fighting type. Its poison typing does give it some resistance against the charm. In comes that Whiscash though that we forced out, and here comes a Leaf Blade from Shiftry. My opponent's going to allow Whiscash to fall here, and in comes Toxicroak. Obviously, those counters are going to stack up really quickly against my Shiftry. I do decide to go here for the foul play, and trainers, I over tap here, and I miss out on that Leaf Blade, trying to go for another foul play. In comes Togekiss, and luckily I have a shield, and we have a ton of energy from all the charming we've done earlier, so we have a Aerial Ace ready to go, and we actually are able to bring down that Toxicroak for the win. Going right into the next game, I will lead Poliwrath into a Lowland Graveler. So this is a very interesting Pokemon to use. I am going to win that matchup, and my opponent knows it, so he does bail out immediately. In comes Quillfish, and I'm not exactly sure how to respond. These are blind matches, so I'm still getting used to all the different Pokemon that we're going to see. I do pause there and absorb the Aqua Tail, and then go into Shiftry. So Shiftry's Leaf Blade is going to wreck that Quillfish super quick. My opponent's going to think things over, let that switch timer tick down, and in comes that Graveler again. And again, the Leaf Blade here is such a huge threat to Rock-type Graveler. I'm definitely going to do that feature video on Shiftry in the next couple of days. I know I talked about it in Timeless Cup, but it is even better in the Fusion Cup, especially against that Bronzong and Whiscash core. It just demolishes it. So in comes my Poliwrath. I'm going to go here for the Dynamic Punch, which will KO if it lands. My opponent does decide to shield, and in comes a Lowland Marowak. So my saving grace here is that I do have both of those shields. I think this is a bait, and it actually is. It is a Bone Club bait, not a huge deal. I'm going to continue to farm up energy, and because there's only a few hexes there, I know this is another Bone Club. As you can see there, Togekiss's resistances are so great. Its flying typing gives it a lot of advantages, but here you see the disadvantage as well, because that Rock Throw just annihilates us. I'm going to bring in my Poliwrath here to wrap things up with the Dynamic Punch, and we win that game as well. Going right into the next game, I do decide to lead Shiftry into Lowland Ninetales. This is a nightmare scenario. I have to bail out in favor of Whiscash. Whiscash has a little bit of an energy lead, and I think I'm already starting to develop some tendencies here in the Fusion Cup. When I have a late switch into Whiscash, I'm gonna try to go double Blizzard, because I want to force both of those shields away from my opponent or take the Altaria, and that's what we do here. We're gonna go for our second Blizzard, and my opponent is going to decide not to shield. So they do keep their shield, but their biggest threat to my team outside of that Alolan Ninetales is out of the way. So in comes Shiftry against Kingdra. I'm going to fire off the Leaf Blade here. It's so fast. I'm telling you, Trainer Snarl is so great since it's been buffed and given to Shiftry. I do decide to bring in Togekiss here to farm up a little bit of extra energy, and then we're in our Charmer match versus the Alolan Ninetales. So I'm going to throw the Ancient Power here. I think I might have a chance if I can get rid of this shield. If Togekiss can't finish the job, maybe Shiftry can get to a Leaf Blade. I do have to shield this attack here. Definitely have to be mindful. Although the Psyshock wouldn't do much damage, you have to stay alive long enough to use your attacks. I did overtap there, but as you could tell, I did have the Leaf Blade for the win. Here we go with a Piloswine against Golbat. My opponent bails out immediately in favor of Bronzong, and in comes Shiftry. So this Bronzong is going to go for a Psyshock, which does hardly any damage at all. Bulldoze is a little bit better damage-wise, but it's still nothing that Shiftry needs to block. I'm going to go here for the Foul Play, and that is extremely effective. Bronzong is out of the picture. In comes Golbat again. I'm going to go for another Foul Play. This is just such a great hard-hitting move across the meta. As you can tell, it took a huge chunk of Golbat's life, but Shiftry is part grass, and the Poison Fang is going to be super effective. That's perfectly okay with me. I'm going to reset this matchup, so to speak, and force the Heracross out, and Togekiss is going to wrap this up really, really nicely. Just 3 charms, and that Heracross is almost out. 4th charm will bring it down. In comes Golbat, and this is another positive side of a charmer like Togekiss. I'm actually not going to throw a charge move here, trainers. I know my opponent has 2 shields, and I don't want to miss out on these fast moves, so we're going to fast move down with the charms for the win. Going to the next game, I will lead my Togekiss into this Heracross, and that's 3 charms, and that Heracross is deep into the yellow. I do hesitate there and then go into the Bronzong, trying to absorb the Ice Punch, and we get it perfectly. So Bronzong does have that Bulldoze that is going to be very, very effective against Sandslash. I just have to be able to get there. My opponent is going to spam the Ice Punches. I think we're still learning a lot of these matchups too, whether it's best to spam a certain move when you have an energy advantage, or if you should go for the hard-hitting moves. It really depends, and it really depends on the scenario. I do think that is one of the best things about Fusion Cup so far, is that it adds a different layer of complexity to the games. You're going to see a lot of interesting strategies this month. A lot of things like Sacrificial Swap is going to be big in this cup, as well as energy advantage. Not quite as big as it was in something like Ferocious, but it's going to be something you need to keep track of. In comes Altaria, and we fail to get to the Psyshock, but no big deal at all. I do have my Togekiss here, but I bring in Shiftry instead. I tried to get to a charge move, but we're not going to be able to do it. I do decide to bring here my Togekiss, my last Pokemon. I'm going to throw this Ancient Power, and I realize that just one charm is going to bring down Heracross, so my biggest threat is this Altaria, and I do definitely need to shield this attack here, but I think I can charm it down for the win. Out comes Heracross, no dice there. In comes Altaria, and we charm down for the win just like we planned. Going to the next game, I will lead my Togekiss into that Alolan Marowak. So this is a Fire Spin Marowak, which I think you're going to see a lot of. He's going to throw this attack. I'm assuming it's Bone Club, and it actually is. Whiscash takes that no problem, and my opponent actually elects to stay in. So this Mud Bomb is going to be super effective if it lands. My opponent does allow it through, so that Alolan Marowak is in really bad shape. I'm expecting the Shadow Ball here, so I do shield, and it is the Shadow Ball. A few more Mud Shots and a late swap. In comes, what is this thing called? Marsh Stomp. Marsh Stomp comes in. Sorry, I blinked. And then I fire off the Blizzard against it, doing a huge chunk of damage. Whiscash has done a great job, so I'm actually going to allow that attack through, look for the swap, and then decide to stay in. Whiscash is such a great Pokemon. I feel like it deserves a feature in this cup. In comes Claydol, and I'm expecting a Surf here or a Mud Bomb, but it's actually just the Sludge. And then my opponent is actually going to throw, with their next attack, it's going to be the Surf. So definitely the right move to do. That took a huge chunk out of Claydol. And in comes Houndoom. So Houndoom is a dark type, dark and fire, and its Fire Fang is super effective against a lot of things in the meta. I do think you are going to see some Houndoom play, but it is very tricky. I bring in Togekiss, and my opponent immediately swaps into a Alolan Marowak, but it is no good. Togekiss's charm is just so oppressive, trainers. If you get it lined up the right way, it can be really, really effective. Going to the last game of the video, I will lead my Shiftry into Kingdra. So definitely a positive matchup for us, even though the Dragon Breath is going to wear us down. I'm going to try to put a lot of pressure on Kingdra. You don't want to let it build up to the Octazooka. You want to force those shields early if you can. In comes Alolan Ninetales, and I'm going to go in here with Whiscash. So I think a big part of my team building right now is finding an answer for the Charmers. I played against Purple Kyogre, who used Wigglytuff the other night, and guys, he just destroyed me with Wigglytuff. I had no solid answer on my team, so I definitely think having one hard counter and maybe one soft counter to a Charmer is going to be necessary in this cup. They are so overpowered, as you were seeing Togekiss with my gameplay as well. I mean, it's got to be tough to deal with. In comes Probopass, and I'm actually going to go for the Mud Bomb, but I'm a little late there, maybe a little bit of lag. Not a huge steal, but I'm not in a great scenario. I do decide to bring in my Togekiss. I'm going to fire off a couple of charms. I do have to keep my shields for Shiftry if I want to have any chance, and there you see Outrage just be totally resisted by Togekiss. Really, really awesome. In comes this Probopass, and I think I should have gone double Foul Play here, but I'm going to go for the Leaf Blade instead. Again, trainers, forgive me if I throw the wrong move. Still learning the matchups here. I don't profess myself to be an expert, and just trying to learn alongside everybody else. We go for that Foul Play, and it does land. And I get my Christmas wish here. Probopass is going to spend its energy. In comes Togekiss, and a couple charms take us to the Ancient Power for the win. And in a hilarious turn, we actually get the boost at the end there. So that was a lot of fun. Trainers, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave me a like, comment, and if you want to see more, definitely subscribe. I was very busy for the holidays, so I know I've taken about a week off of videos, but the videos are going to start rolling again. I hope you'll stick around and see more. Got a lot of exciting features piled up and ready to be released, and a tournament recap with Jangles, who went all the way to LA in the Timeless Cup. We're going to talk tournament strategy, strategy. We're going to talk team building and everything else. You don't want to miss it. Also, trainers, you probably noticed on the right side, I now have the link to sign up for the Orlando Mega Cup on January 18th. It is going to be here before you know it, so definitely check it out. Check out the link, see who's signed up, and get hype, trainers, because it's going to be great. I'll see you in the next one.